Who's that? It's Jerry. Bear with. G'day Jerry, how's it going? Yeah, not too bad. I'm just filming my homebrew Wednesday video. Happy Homebrew Wednesday! This Homebrew Wednesday is proudly supported by the HLT. Happy Homebrew Wednesday everybody. I am drinking the rest of, I had a bit of it a bit earlier, some Experiment Z or Experiment Z, depending on which kind of English you use. So this is by Gash Slug, all the way over in Australia. Australia, we love ya. Cheers, Gash Slug. This is an experimental beer. So let's get our little nose into this. We'll suck some foam off first. Oh, what does it say? Centennial and Simcoe, 5.3%. The unnamed session IPA. Brewed back on the 26th of the 9th, 2013. All malt, Cara Amber and Cara Pills. With a IBU of 55. Now I must admit I had some of this a little bit earlier, before videoing, so I missed the grand opening, but anyway, look at that. Whoop. Get rid of the Tuatara. We're not advertising Tuatara beer, are we? We're advertising Gash Slugs beer. We're not advertising it, we're saying how good it is. Because you can't buy Gash Slugs beer at the pubs. Would be good if you could. Maybe one day. Oh, what is that aroma? Sometimes my nose fails me. Which is surprising, but it'll come to it'll come to me. It's nice and fresh. It's a fresh, fruity. Oh, inhaling too much, I'll hyperventilate. I'm back! During that brief moment, which would be milliseconds for you guys, but it was at least 15 minutes for me, the SD card and the camera went on full. I had to go and take all the video that was on and off and format the card and put it back in and put the camera back on its mount, and here we are again. The magic of editing. You don't see any of that stuff happen. You wouldn't have seen it anyway because the SD card was full. So yeah, this Saturday I managed to do a hangout with SJ Poor, Kevin Clements, and also Kurt Sexton, and Lerimo22. So, great stuff. Cheers guys for jumping in the hangout. Now, if you haven't seen the hangout, go and have a look at my US SJ Poor beer video, which is the one that I put up just before this one. What else has been happening? I had a little challenge, well not a little challenge, just a little thought. Zippy said something on Facebook about the first time he brewed and what he brewed and what the ingredients were, and he asked me, he sent me a message and said, do I remember what I first brewed? And I do. It was a kit. It was a liquid malt, a dark liquid malt, 1.7 kg, 1 kg of table sugar, refined sugar, and the yeast that comes in the little pot pack at the top of the kit. And I brewed myself a dark lager because I used to drink a hell of a lot of dark lager and I wanted to make my own dark lager. That was a dark ale really. Didn't have the fridges or anything sorted out to do a lager at that stage. And Zippy said, would you ever make it again? Yeah, let's make them again. So I'll lay down the challenge here. Zippy will lay down the challenge in the UK. Someone's bound to pick it up and lay down the challenge in the US. Not to swap the beers or anything, but just to do a video of back in the day. Recreating one of those first brews, or recreating the first brew that you brewed that made you want to be a home brewer. do it again and see what it tastes like, or do it again, video it and show what you do differently, but try and use the same kind of ingredients that are in there. I know I'm not going to use table sugar, I'll use dextrose this time. Cool. But I'm not going to stray too far off, and I'll brew it up and I'll see what it's like. But yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I think it's really nice to look back and revisit what you used to do. And I'm sure there's a lot of kit and kilo people out there that would benefit from watching some all grain brewers actually go back and look at how they brew a kit and kilo beer again. And so that would be a worthwhile video. So cheers, Zippy. That is a great idea, and I accept the challenge. And I'm going to rebrew the first beer that I ever brewed. Cheers. The fermenter's sitting over there. I've been running a little test on it. Just a little test. I was interested. Because it's summer, the sun's streaming into the brewery through the window and it shines directly on the fermenter. And the fermenter's been empty, and the internal temperature has been getting up around about the 40-degree mark. So I filled it up with water. Filled up to there with water, and the temperature hasn't risen past 20 degrees. So even with the sun directly shining on the stainless steel fermenter with it full of water, the inside core temperature doesn't get past 20 degrees. So that's a 20-degree difference. If it was empty, the internal temperature would shoot up to 40 degrees. So yeah, it's interesting. Holds its temperature really well. The body of water, that's, you know, thermodynamics, fun stuff. There we go. Alrighty, I do have right here in front of my very eyes a chocolate oatmeal stout. Wonderful looking colour. Head retention's a little bit low for an oatmeal stout, but it is quite old. It is 18 months old. Head retention in the jug, yeah, it had a lot of carbonation in the bottle when I opened it up. But this is by Jules. Now Jules is a brewer that I met last Thursday at All Grain Brewing Supplies for their inaugural 1-year anniversary of being open. Had a little drinkies and barbecue and go around and have yourself a little Panhead supercharger and your little plug there for Panhead, Mike Nielsen up at Panhead. Happy birthday Mike, you had your birthday last week. Cheers buddy. Anyway, getting back to the note on hand. I was talking to Sadi about the lambic competition that was coming up, and Jules said, "Oh, I've got a beer that you might be interested in." He offered me a bottle and I went and picked it up from him the next day. Now, this oatmeal stout, it's got some cocoa nibs in it, so it's got a nice little chocolate under profile in it. 6 malts, so it's been crafted, it's well balanced, it's got lots of robust flavours going on in there. It also has raspberries in it. Now, the raspberries that are in it, some of them are shop brought and some of them are wild raspberries. And I'm not sure of what the ratio of raspberries, of shop brought to wild raspberries is, but I think he said there was about 3 kg of raspberries put into secondary. But the raspberries were mashed up and frozen before they went into secondary, and then brought out and probably thawed out and plopped into secondary. But they weren't boiled. They weren't pasteurised. So these wild raspberries quite possibly had some wild yeast on them. That wild yeast has ended up in the secondary and it's gone, ooh, Motor Street, and it started munching away at the stout. Now, as Jules bottled it off, bottle conditioned it, and as he was tasting it, he started to notice some funkier flavours coming through, and it started to change as bottle conditions beer do. They start to age, and of course, as robust oatmeal stouts do, they change over time. But he started to notice some different flavours that were coming in on it. So he flipped me off a bottle so I could give it a crack, just sort of see what I could come up with. Now, to tell the truth, I was anticipating a sour pucker. You know, the wild yeast has just gone nuts in there, and it just made a really, really lambic-like stout. But it hadn't. What it's done is it's evened out the punch that an oatmeal stout has. It's taken the body that was there and thinned it down. The rich, flavours of an oatmeal stout, but it has a mouthfeel like a wine. There isn't a pucker. There is no sourness. I cannot pick up a sour note in it. But I do notice that it's done something a little bit different to the stout. That those raspberries with that wild yeast have changed the flavour of it. Lots of carbonation in it. So that yeast has been active for a while. Now the raspberry flavour has died away. The raspberry aroma has died off quite a lot. It's been 18 months. Unlike Lermo 22's raspberry porter that I had on the weekend, which as soon as you open the bottle, the room was filled with a raspberry aroma. This one, the raspberry aroma has died down and it's concentrated down into its flavour. Now when I drink this, it's like Rose's chocolate, and you pull out the Turkish Delight and you get the chocolatey flavour with a bit of raspberry in there. Probably not the Turkish Delight, but it's a chocolate box. It is a chocolate box. It's a raspberry chocolate out of a chocolate box. The hard raspberry caramel. There you go. That's which one. That's which one it is. In the Rose's chocolate, there's a hard rose raspberry caramel. That's what this is. But it's in liquid form. You don't have to chew it and get it stuck on your teeth. I think this beer could quite happily age for another good 18 months and be phenomenal, as long as those bottles don't explode, because they're in plastic bottles and that wild yeast that's in there. I think if you look, might be in the camera over. You look down there, the dark floaties that are floating on the top of that head. That's the yeast tube that's sort of continually fermenting in the bottle. And I can just notice that my camera is starting to go flat. So what I'm going to have to do right now, before my camera goes flat, is say cheers, happy homebrew everybody. Jules, I'll continue to drink this and I'll give you a more in-depth sort of review of it as I sort of taste it a bit more and let it warm up and get some aromas out. But thank you very much for dropping it off. Cheers to Carl from All Grain Services for dropping off a bag of grain. Cheers to everybody for watching, liking, subscribing to my videos, and happy Homebrew Wednesday and have yourself another one. Cheers.